The Apache helicopter's rotors sliced through the dawn sky, as Major Kayla Monroe scanned the desert below. Her radio crackled to life with an urgent message that would change everything. "Ghost Rider, this is command. We have a SEAL team that's gone dark. 72 hours overdue from classified op." Kayla's grip tightened on the controls. She'd flown solo extractions before, but something about this one felt different. Banking toward the coordinates, she had no idea she was flying straight into betrayal. Before we dive into Kayla's story, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from today. Now, let's follow Major Monroe as she receives a mission that will test every skill she's ever learned. Major Kayla Monroe adjusted her helmet and scanned the endless stretch of desert below. The morning sun painted the mountains gold, and her Apache helicopter hummed steady and strong. She'd been flying these patrols for 3 years now, but the view never got old. "Ghost Rider, this is Falcon Base. Radio check, over." Kayla pressed her mic button. "Falcon Base, this is Ghost Rider. Lima Charlie, over." "Copy that, Ghost Rider. All quiet on your sector?" She glanced at her instruments. Fuel was good. Systems green. Nothing but empty desert for miles. "Roger, Falcon Base. Nothing but sand and rocks down here." The radio went quiet. Kayla settled back in her seat and let her eyes sweep the horizon. This was the part of flying she loved most. Up here, everything made sense. The controls responded exactly how they should. The engine never lied to you. You either had fuel or you didn't. Your weapons worked or they didn't. Simple. Her earpiece crackled again. Different voice this time. More urgent. "Ghost Rider, this is command. Priority traffic." Kayla straightened. Command didn't call unless something was wrong. "Command, this is Ghost Rider. Go ahead. Ghost Rider, we need you to divert to grid 847 to 329. We have a SEAL team that's gone dark." She pulled up the coordinates on her display. 20 minutes southeast. Right at the edge of hostile territory. "Copy, command. How long have they been dark?" 72 hours. They were supposed to radio in every 12 hours during their classified op. Last contact was Tuesday at 0600. Kayla felt that familiar tightness in her chest. 3 days was a long time for SEALs to go silent. Those guys were trained to communicate no matter what. Any idea what happened to them? Negative. That's why we need eyes on target. You're the closest asset we have. She banked the Apache toward the coordinates. The desert below changed from flat sand to rocky hills. More places to hide. More places for things to go wrong. "Command, what about my wingman? Shouldn't I wait for backup?" "Negative, Ghost Rider. Time is critical. Phoenix 27 is handling a situation 60 miles north. You're solo on this one." Solo. Kayla had flown plenty of solo missions, but extracting SEALs in hostile territory was different. Those operations usually had 2 Apaches minimum. Sometimes 4. "Roger, command. Solo it is." She pushed the throttle forward and felt the helicopter surge ahead. The landscape rushed by faster now. Rocky outcrops. Deep valleys. Perfect terrain for an ambush. "Ghost Rider, be advised. The SEAL team is callsign Frost. Team leader is Staff Sergeant Jake Harrison. 8-man team went in for high-value target extraction." "Copy that. Frost team, 8 souls." Kayla's mind started working through the possibilities. High-value target meant someone important. Someone worth risking 8 SEALs to grab. Those missions were dangerous even when everything went right. The radio stayed quiet for several minutes. She used the time to check her weapons systems. 30mm cannon fully loaded. Hellfire missiles armed and ready. If the SEALs were in trouble, she'd have the firepower to help them. "Ghost Rider, this is command. One more thing." "Go ahead, command." The area you're heading into has been active lately. Increased chatter. Be ready for anything. Active meant enemy forces. Lots of them. Understood, Command. Ghost Rider is weapons hot. She crested a ridge and saw the target area ahead. Deep valley surrounded by rocky hills. Good cover for friendlies. Even better cover for enemies. Her hands moved automatically across the controls, bringing all systems to full readiness. The fuel gauge showed she had enough for the mission plus reserves. Her targeting systems were locked and loaded. The Apache felt solid beneath her, like a trusted partner ready for whatever came next. But something felt wrong. She couldn't put her finger on it, but 3 days was too long for SEALs to stay quiet. And why send just one Apache? Command always sent backup for operations like this. The coordinates were just ahead now. Time to find out what happened to Frost's team. Kayla pushed those doubts aside and focused on the mission. 8 Americans were missing, and she was their best hope of getting home. She had no idea she was about to fly into the worst betrayal in special operations history. Kayla flew low through the valley, her eyes scanning every rock and shadow. The landing zone was supposed to be clear. That's what the intelligence briefing had said. But intelligence was often wrong. She keyed her radio. Frost team, this is Ghost Rider. Do you copy? Static. Then more static. Frost team, Ghost Rider is 1 mile out from your last known position. Please respond. Nothing. The silence made her stomach tighten. SEALs always answered their radios. Always. Unless they couldn't. She crested a small hill and saw the extraction point below. Her blood went cold. Bodies. At least 3 of them scattered around what should have been an empty landing zone. The distinctive camouflage pattern of American Special Forces was unmistakable even from 500 feet up. Command, this is Ghost Rider. I have eyes on the LZ. Multiple key on the ground. Ghost Rider, confirm your last transmission. Command, I have at least 3 American key at the landing zone. The LZ is compromised. She circled higher, trying to get a better picture. That's when she saw them. Muzzle flashes from the rocks. Dozens of them. All aimed at a cluster of boulders on the east side of the valley. Someone was still alive down there. And they were fighting for their lives. Ghost Rider, this is Frost Actual. Thank God you're here. The voice was strained, breathing heavy. But it was American. Frost Actual, this is Ghost Rider. What's your situation? We walked into a trap. They were waiting for us. Lost 3 men in the first 30 seconds. We've got 4 wounded and we're running low on ammo. Kayla felt ice in her veins. They were waiting. That meant someone had told them the SEALs were coming. Frost Actual, how many hostiles are you facing? At least 40. Maybe more. They've got us pinned down behind these rocks. Can't move without taking fire from 3 directions. She could see the enemy positions now. They were spread out in a perfect ambush formation. Overlapping fields of fire. Escape routes blocked. This wasn't some random encounter. This was planned. Frost Actual, I'm going to start clearing those positions. Keep your heads down. Kayla rolled the Apache into an attack run. Her targeting system locked onto the first group of shooters. She squeezed the trigger and watched her cannon rounds tear into the rocks. Bodies scattered. But there were so many more. Her radio crackled with a different voice. Ghost Rider, this is Phoenix 2-7. We're inbound to assist. Relief flooded through her. Her wingman was coming. Phoenix 2-7, Ghost Rider. What's your ETA? 15 minutes out. Hold tight. 15 minutes. In a firefight, that was forever. She lined up another attack run. More muzzle flashes. More targets. The enemy had heavy weapons too. She could see tracer rounds reaching up toward her aircraft. Ghost Rider, break left. RPG. She yanked the stick hard left just as a rocket-propelled grenade streaked past her cockpit. Too close. Way too close. Phoenix 2-7, this is Ghost Rider. They've got anti-aircraft weapons down here. Be advised. No response. Phoenix 2-7, do you copy? Static. Then a different voice came through. Panicked. Scared. Mayday, mayday. Phoenix 2-7 is taking heavy fire. We're going down. Kayla's heart dropped. She spun the Apache around and saw her wingman's aircraft trailing smoke, spinning toward the ground. The crash was spectacular. Fire and metal scattered across the desert floor. She was alone now. Ghost Rider, Phoenix 2-7 is down. We need immediate assistance. Phoenix crew, this is Ghost Rider. What's your status? Pilot's unconscious. Gunner's got a broken leg. We're taking small arms fire. Now she had two groups to protect. The trapped SEALs and her downed wingman's crew. And more enemies than she could count. Command, this is Ghost Rider. Phoenix 2-7 is down. I need immediate backup at these coordinates. She waited for a response. The radio stayed quiet. Command, this is Ghost Rider. Emergency traffic. Do you copy? More silence. That wasn't right. Command always answered emergency calls. Always. She switched to a different frequency. Any station, this is Ghost Rider with emergency traffic. Nothing. The enemy fire was getting heavier now. They'd brought in more weapons. More men. It was like they'd been planning this for weeks. Frost Actual, Ghost Rider. How much ammo do you have left? Maybe 20 minutes of steady fire. After that, we're down to pistols and harsh language. 20 minutes. Her wingman was down. Command wasn't answering. And she was facing an army. She looked at her fuel gauge. Enough for maybe an hour of combat operations. Her ammunition counter showed she'd already used a third of her rockets. The math was simple. And it wasn't good. Frost Actual, we're going to get you out of here. I don't know how yet, but we're going to get you home. Copy that, Ghost Rider. We're not going anywhere. Kayla circled higher, trying to think. The enemy had known exactly when and where the SEALs would be. They'd positioned themselves perfectly for an ambush. And now Command wasn't answering her calls. Someone had set this up. Someone on their side. But that was a problem for later. Right now, she had Americans on the ground who needed her help. One Apache against an army. The odds had never been worse. Kayla tried Command again. Still nothing. She switched through every frequency she knew. Emergency channels. Backup frequencies. Even the basic radio check channel. Dead silence. Frost Actual, when's the last time you talked to Command? About 4 hours ago. They told us extraction was set for 1,400 hours. That's when everything went to hell. 4 hours. Command had been quiet for 4 hours, and they were just now sending her in? That didn't make sense. She rolled into another attack run, targeting a machine gun nest that was giving the SEALs trouble. Her cannon rounds found their mark, but 2 more positions opened up immediately. It was like they had unlimited replacements. Ghost Rider, we've got movement on the West Ridge. Looks like reinforcements. Kayla swung her aircraft around and saw them. At least 20 more fighters moving down the hillside. Fresh weapons. Fresh ammunition. They weren't running out of anything. Her radio suddenly came alive with chatter. But it wasn't English. She switched to her intercept frequency and listened. The voices were speaking Arabic, but her translator software picked up key words. American helicopter. Plan ambush. Inside information. Her hands tightened on the controls. Inside information. She kept listening as she circled higher, staying out of range of their weapons. More Arabic. Then a phrase that made her blood freeze. The colonel said the helicopter pilot would come alone. The colonel. One of theirs had told them she'd be solo. Ghost Rider, you still there? It was Frost Actual. I'm here. Still working on getting us out of this mess. But her mind was racing. The enemy had known about the SEAL mission. They'd known about the extraction time. And they'd known she'd be coming alone. Someone in command had sold them out. She switched back to the command frequency and tried once more. Command, this is Ghost Rider. Priority emergency traffic. This time, someone answered. But the voice was different. Nervous. Ghost Rider, this is Lieutenant Morrison. I'm new on duty here. Lieutenant, where's the duty officer? Where's Colonel Bradley? I don't know. He left about an hour ago. Said something about a meeting. An hour ago. Right around the time the ambush started. Lieutenant, I need immediate backup at these coordinates. Multiple American casualties. Let me check with someone. The radio went quiet again. Kayla waited, but Morrison never came back. She tried a different approach. She switched to the frequency Phoenix 27 had been using before he got shot down. Phoenix 27, Ghost Rider. You still alive down there? Barely. We're taking sporadic fire, but they seem more interested in you and the SEALs. Phoenix, when did you get diverted from this mission? About 3 hours ago. Got orders to respond to a suspected IED on Highway 7. Turned out to be nothing. Just some rocks that looked suspicious. 3 hours ago. Right when the SEALs needed backup the most. Phoenix, who gave you those orders? Came straight from Colonel Bradley's office. There it was. Colonel Bradley had sent her wingman away on a fake mission. Bradley had told the enemy she'd be coming alone. Bradley had set up the whole thing. But why? Her threat warning system started beeping. Someone had locked onto her with a missile system. She dropped flares and banked hard right, feeling the heat of a surface-to-air missile as it streaked past her aircraft. Frost Actual, they just fired a SAM at me. Where did they get military-grade missiles? Ghost Rider, these guys have equipment we've never seen before. Night vision. Advanced communications. Someone's been supplying them. Someone. The same someone who'd betrayed the mission. She tried to reach any friendly aircraft in the area. Any U.S. aircraft, this is Ghost Rider with emergency traffic. A voice came back immediately. Ghost Rider, this is Viper Flight. We're 30 miles north. What's your situation? Finally. Help was coming. Viper Flight, I have Americans under fire at grid 847 to 329. Request immediate assistance. Ghost Rider, we'd love to help, but we just got orders to return to base. Some kind of stand-down order. Stand-down order? From who? Colonel Bradley's office. Sorry, Ghost Rider. Orders are orders. Her heart sank. Bradley was calling off every aircraft that might help. He was making sure she stayed alone. Frost Actual, how's your ammo situation? We're down to about 10 minutes of steady fire. After that, it's going to get interesting. 10 minutes. She looked at her own weapons display. Half her missiles were gone. Her cannon was down to 60%. And the enemy kept getting reinforcements. Ghost Rider, we've got vehicles approaching from the south. Looks like technical trucks with heavy weapons. She swung around and saw them. 6 pickup trucks with machine guns mounted in the beds. Moving fast toward the SEAL position. The enemy wasn't just trying to kill the SEALs. They were putting on a show. Making sure it was spectacular. Because they knew she was alone. They knew no help was coming. They knew because someone had told them. Frost Actual, can you move to a different position? Negative. We've got 2 men who can't walk. And they've got us surrounded anyway. Kayla circled higher, looking for options. Any options? The math was getting worse by the minute. More enemies. Less ammunition. And a traitor making sure she stayed isolated. She keyed her radio one more time. Command, this is Ghost Rider. I know someone's listening. I know what's happening here. This time, Colonel Bradley's voice came through. Calm. Cold. Ghost Rider, you're ordered to return to base immediately. Not without my people, sir. That's a direct order, Major Monroe. She switched off her radio. Orders didn't matter anymore. The chain of command was broken. All that mattered were the Americans on the ground who trusted her to bring them home. With no one to trust and nowhere to run, Kayla had to make an impossible choice. Kayla rolled into a steep dive, targeting the lead technical truck. Her Hellfire missile streaked down and turned the vehicle into twisted metal and flame. The explosion sent the other trucks scattering for cover. Nice shot, Ghost Rider. You bought us some time. But not much. She could see more fighters moving through the rocks. They were surrounding the SEAL position like wolves closing in on wounded prey. Her hydraulic pressure warning light started flashing. She'd taken a hit during her last pass and hadn't even noticed. The Apache was bleeding fluid, making the controls sluggish. Frost Actual, I need you to mark your exact position with smoke. I'm going to try something dangerous. Copy that. Smoke is out. Red smoke billowed up from behind the cluster of boulders where the SEALs were trapped. Kayla could see muzzle flashes from at least 6 different directions, all aimed at that small patch of cover. She dropped to 50 feet above the deck and screamed across the valley at full throttle. Her cannon blazed, raking the enemy positions on the north ridge. Tracer rounds reached up toward her like deadly fireworks. Something hit her aircraft hard. The master caution light flashed red. Ghost Rider, you're trailing smoke. She could feel it now. The Apache was shaking, fighting her inputs. But she'd cleared 3 machine gun nests with that pass. The SEALs had a moment to breathe. Frost Actual, can you move to the south ridge? There's better cover there. Negative. Johnson's got a sucking chest wound, and Martinez can't feel his legs. They're not going anywhere. Kayla pulled into a climb, trying to gain altitude for another attack run. Her engine temperature was climbing. Whatever had hit her had damaged something important. Ghost Rider, we've got company coming from the east. Looks like more technicals. She looked where he indicated and saw them. 4 more pickup trucks loaded with fighters. They were trying to flank the SEAL position. Her missile count showed 3 Hellfires remaining. She'd have to make each one count. She lined up on the lead truck and fired. Direct hit. The second truck swerved to avoid the wreckage and flipped over. 2 down. But the other 2 made it to cover and disgorged their fighters. Now there were even more guns pointed at the trapped Americans. Ghost Rider, my hydraulics are getting worse. How much longer can you stay airborne? She checked her gauges. Hydraulic pressure was dropping fast. In maybe 10 minutes, the controls would stop responding entirely. I've got time, Frost Actual. Don't worry about me. But she was worried. The Apache was dying underneath her, and she was running out of ways to help the men on the ground. Her radio crackled with enemy chatter again. They were coordinating a final assault. All units converging on the SEAL position at once. Frost Actual, they're massing for a big push. I count at least 60 fighters moving in. Copy that. We'll make them pay for it. She could hear the exhaustion in his voice. The SEALs had been fighting for hours. Their ammunition was almost gone. And she was about to lose her aircraft. But she had an idea. A crazy idea. Frost Actual, in about 2 minutes, I want you to pop smoke and run south. All of you. Carry the wounded if you have to. Ghost Rider, we can't move. They'll cut us down in the open. Not if I give them something else to shoot at. She pulled the Apache into a wide circle, lining up for what would probably be her last attack run. The controls were getting mushy. She had to fight the stick just to keep the aircraft level. "Ghost Rider, where are you planning?" Instead of answering, she dropped to 20 feet above the valley floor and flew straight at the largest concentration of enemy fighters. Her cannon fired continuously, cutting through their ranks like a scythe. But this time, she didn't pull up. She kept the Apache low, drawing every weapon in the valley toward her aircraft. Bullets punched through her windscreen. Alarms screamed in her headset. "Now, Frost Actual. Move now." Through her damaged canopy, she could see the SEALs breaking cover, 2 of them carrying their wounded teammates. They were exposed and vulnerable, but every enemy gun was focused on her. She pulled hard on the stick, trying to climb, but the Apache barely responded. Smoke was pouring from her engine compartment now. "Ghost Rider, you're on fire." She could feel the heat behind her. The Apache was coming apart, but it was still flying. Still fighting. She managed to gain 100 feet of altitude and saw the SEALs reaching the south ridge. They'd made it to better cover. But they were still surrounded. Her engine coughed and lost power. The aircraft started falling toward the rocks below. She had maybe 30 seconds before impact. 30 seconds to figure out how to save 7 American lives with a dying helicopter. Every pass could be her last, but she couldn't abandon her brothers below. Kayla fought the controls as the Apache fell toward the rocks. At the last second, the engine caught and gave her just enough power to level out. She scraped over a boulder with inches to spare. But the aircraft was finished. Black smoke poured from the engine. The hydraulics were gone completely now. She was flying on backup systems that wouldn't last much longer. "Ghost Rider, you still with us?" She keyed her mic with shaking hands. "I'm still here, Frost Actual." "Barely. We made it to the south ridge, but we're still pinned down. Johnson's getting worse. I don't think he's going to make it without a medic." Kayla looked at her fuel gauge. 10 minutes. Maybe less. Her missile count showed 1 Hellfire remaining and about 50 rounds for her cannon. Against 60 enemy fighters. "Frost Actual, what's your ammunition status?" "We're down to maybe 5 magazines total. And that's counting the rounds in our weapons. 5 magazines between 7 men. In a sustained firefight, that would last about 3 minutes. She climbed as high as her damaged aircraft would go and tried to get a better picture of the battlefield. What she saw made her stomach drop. The enemy wasn't just surrounding the SEALs anymore. They were moving in methodically, like they had all the time in the world. Because they knew she was out of options. More vehicles were approaching from the west. Heavy trucks this time, probably carrying more weapons and fresh fighters. "Ghost Rider, this is Phoenix 2-7. We're still alive down here, but barely. They're getting ready to overrun our position." Now she had 2 groups of Americans who needed her help, and an aircraft that was falling apart underneath her. Her radio crackled with more enemy chatter. They were talking about the American helicopter that was about to crash. They sounded pleased. "Frost Actual, how far is it to the secondary extraction point?" "About 2 clicks south. But we'd have to cross open ground to get there. With our wounded, we'd never make it." 2 kilometers. In her Apache, that was nothing. But for men on foot, carrying wounded teammates and being hunted by an army, it might as well have been 200. She tried her radio one more time. Any U.S. aircraft, this is Ghost Rider with emergency traffic. American lives at stake." A voice came back immediately. "Ghost Rider, this is Thunder Flight. We're 20 minutes out and loaded for bear. What do you need?" 20 minutes. Her heart leaped. "Thunder Flight, I have Americans pinned down at grid 847 to 329. Heavy enemy concentration." "Roger that, Ghost Rider. We're coming in hot." But then another voice cut in. "Colonel Bradley. Thunder Flight, this is Command. You are ordered to return to base immediately. That is a direct order. But sir, there are Americans in contact. Return to base now. Anyone who disobeys will face court-martial. The radio went quiet. Then Thunder Flight came back, his voice defeated. Ghost Rider, I'm sorry. Orders are orders. I understand, Thunder Flight. Thanks anyway. But she didn't understand. She'd never understand how someone could abandon Americans in the field. Ghost Rider, we just lost Martinez. Sniper got him. Her hands tightened on the controls. Another good man dead because of Bradley's betrayal. Frost Actual, I'm going to create a diversion. When I do, you and your men move toward the extraction point. Don't stop for anything. Ghost Rider, you can't. Your aircraft won't survive another attack run. He was right. The Apache was held together by prayers and determination. One more hard maneuver would probably tear it apart. Frost Actual, how many men do you have left? 6. Johnson's still breathing, but he's unconscious. Won't last much longer without real medical help. 6 men. 6 Americans who deserve to go home to their families. She thought about her own family. Her sister in Ohio. Her parents in Michigan. Would they understand why she had to do this? Frost Actual, listen to me. In about 30 seconds, I'm going to fly straight at their main position. When they start shooting at me, you run. All of you. Carry Johnson if you have to. Ghost Rider, that's suicide. Maybe. But it's better than watching you all die down there. She could see the enemy positions clearly now. They'd moved closer, confident that her crippled aircraft posed no real threat. They were about to learn different. Frost Actual, you got kids? 2 boys. 8 and 10. What are their names? Tommy and Mike. Why? Just wanted to know. When you get home, you tell them about today. You tell them that sometimes people do hard things because it's right. Ghost Rider, don't do this. We'll find another way. But there was no other way. She'd run the calculations a dozen times. The math never changed. Her engine coughed and lost power for a moment before catching again. Even the Apache was trying to tell her something. Frost Actual, you ready? She could hear him breathing hard over the radio. Could hear gunfire in the background. Ghost Rider, it's been an honor. Same here, Sergeant. She dropped the Apache toward the valley floor one last time. The enemy fighters saw her coming and started shooting immediately. Dozens of muzzle flashes lit up the rocks. But their bullets were aimed at empty air. Because Kayla Monroe had one last card to play. Sometimes heroes aren't born. They're forged in impossible moments. Kayla didn't fly straight at the enemy positions. Instead, she banked hard right toward the crashed Phoenix 2-7. Her aircraft screamed in protest, but held together. Ghost Rider, where are you going? Trust me, Frost Actual. She brought the Apache down next to the wreckage of her wingman's helicopter. The 2 crewmen were still alive, hiding behind the twisted metal. Phoenix crew, can you hear me? We're here, Ghost Rider. What's the plan? I need you to get to your weapons pod. Can you access your missiles? The aircraft's totaled, but the weapons should still be functional. Give us 30 seconds. 30 seconds she didn't have. Enemy fighters were already moving toward the crash site, realizing what she was trying to do. She fired her last Hellfire at the closest group, buying Phoenix crew the time they needed. Ghost Rider, we've got 2 missiles ready to fire. But we need a target lock. I'll paint the targets for you. When I say fire, you let them go. Her targeting laser swept across the main enemy position where most of the fighters had concentrated. The hillside lit up with the invisible beam that would guide the missiles home. Target painted. Fire both missiles. 2 Hellfire missiles streaked from the wreckage and slammed into the rocks. The explosion was massive, taking out at least 20 enemy fighters and their heavy weapons. But it wasn't enough. More enemies were moving in from other directions. Frost Actual, start moving now. Head for the extraction point. We're moving, Ghost Rider. But they're still all around us. She could see them on her thermal display. The SEALs were carrying their wounded teammate, moving as fast as they could across broken ground. But enemy fighters were closing in from both sides. Her cannon had maybe 20 rounds left. Not enough to clear a path. But she had one more idea. Phoenix crew, how much fuel is left in your aircraft? The tanks are ruptured, but there's still maybe 100 gallons pooled underneath. 100 gallons of aviation fuel. Highly flammable aviation fuel. Can you rig an explosion? Give us 2 minutes. You've got 1 minute. Then get clear. She flew over the advancing enemy fighters, using her remaining cannon rounds to slow them down. Every shot had to count now. Ghost Rider, fuel's ready to blow. We're moving the safe distance. Frost Actual, where are you? Halfway to the extraction point. But we've got at least 15 fighters chasing us. Perfect. She needed them grouped together. Frost Actual, when you reach that cluster of boulders ahead, take cover and stay down. Whatever happens, don't look up. Copy that, Ghost Rider. She waited until the SEALs reached cover, then flew back toward the crash site. Most of the enemy fighters were now clustered around Phoenix 2-7, thinking they could capture valuable intelligence from the wreckage. They were about to get a surprise. Phoenix crew, are you clear? We're clear, Ghost Rider. Light it up. She fired her cannon at the pooled aviation fuel. The explosion was like a small nuclear bomb. The fireball rose 300 feet into the air, taking out everything within a quarter-mile radius. When the smoke cleared, the hillside was silent. Frost Actual, you still with me? We're here, Ghost Rider. That was incredible. Can you make it to the extraction point? We're already here. Johnson's still alive. Barely, but he's breathing. Her fuel gauge was showing empty now. The Apache had maybe 2 minutes of flight time left. But it was enough. Frost Actual, I see rotors approaching from the south. Looks like someone finally decided to help. 3 Black Hawk helicopters were inbound, flying fast and low. Real help was finally coming. Ghost Rider, this is Thunder Flight. Sorry we're late. Had to wait for Colonel Bradley to be arrested before we could launch. Arrested. The traitor had finally been caught. Thunder Flight, I have 6 American casualties ready for extraction at the secondary LZ. Roger that, Ghost Rider. We'll take good care of them. Kayla watched the Blackhawks land and load the wounded SEALs. Phoenix crew was picked up by the 2nd helicopter. Everyone was going home. Her engine finally quit completely. The Apache auto-rotated down and landed hard in the desert sand, but she walked away from it. 2 hours later, she was sitting in a tent drinking coffee and watching the sun set over the mountains. Frost Actual found her there. Ghost Rider, I wanted to thank you. Just doing my job, Sergeant. No ma'am. You did a lot more than that. Johnson's going to make it. His boys will get to see their dad again. She nodded and took another sip of coffee. It tasted better than anything she'd ever had. Sergeant, what made you become a SEAL? Same thing that made you a pilot, I think. Sometimes good people have to stand up when things go wrong. He was right. Today, things had gone very wrong. But good people had stood up. And everyone had made it home. Later, when the investigation was complete, they learned that Colonel Bradley had been selling mission intelligence to enemy forces for over a year. Dozens of operations had been compromised. Good soldiers had died because of his greed. But not today. Today, one Apache pilot had held the line long enough for the cavalry to arrive. Kayla Monroe had kept faith with the warrior's code. She had brought her people home. Major Kayla Monroe's story reminds us that true heroes emerge when everything seems hopeless. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible military stories. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Your stories and insights make this community special, so please share them below. Until next time, remember that freedom isn't free, and heroes walk among us every day.